I found a place in Hollywood. Well, I had found it first when I stepped into the Laugh Factory Latino night. I said, oh my God, I belong. And then from that moment on, I felt there was some place in Los Angeles where I belonged.
Today, I am just elated to share with you one of my dearest sister friends. We are comedy sisters for life. She and I have gone through so many things together. I am so ecstatic to bring to you an extraordinary actress, singer, comedian, and just a wonderful spiritual person, Sully Diaz. Sully! Hi, Sully!
Hey,
How are you?
I am very, very, very happy to be here with you today
Oh,
and
I'm
with your
ecstatic.
followers. So happy. You are my sister. We have been sisters for many, many years.
So I just want to start with how you started. What was the bug that got you into acting?
Mary Poppins. When I was 5 years old, my mom took me to the theater. I saw the movie. I was mesmerized, and I turned around and I said, "Mom, I'm going to be an actress at 5 years old." And I always kept my word. I guess I knew.
When did you actually start to take classes and pursue your acting?
When I was 12 years old, I started at a school. It's like a school for performing arts, Escuela Libre de Música, free school of the performing arts. And I started there studying acting, piano, ballet, jazz, everything.
In Puerto Rico?
That was in Puerto Rico. That was in Puerto Rico. Yeah. And then I started studying at the University of Puerto Rico. And then I studied all over New York, different techniques, HB Studios. Then here in Puerto Rico, I studied Meissner's technique, which is my favorite. I was an observer at the Actors Studio in New York. I don't like too much that technique, but I was an observer. And I even worked for Lee Strasberg. In one scene, I was invited to work in front of him.
So now you've taken the classes. And what was your first job?
It was one of those comedy shows, at 12 noon, I would be the girl that would come in. Hi, can I use the phone? That was always my first line. It was a gas station. That's where I started. Channel 4, WAPA TV. That was the first one.
How did you get into soaps?
Well, I was studying at the drama department at the university, and Dean Sayas, the director, he recommended me for an audition, and I booked it. That was my first novela, was Marta Llorens.
You became pretty famous doing those telenovelas. What made you decide you wanted to come to Hollywood to work as an actor?
Yeah, I did the novelas for a while, and I did one in particular called Coralito, and that novela was very special. It's like the most seen show in our history. Of course, that wouldn't happen now because we can select whatever we want, Netflix and whatnot. And then after I had that experience, I thought, I wanna cross over. I would like to do the whole world, but let's start with the United States. And I went to New York.
Oh, you went to New York first. Okay.
Yeah. When I was 20, I stopped college and I went to New York. And I studied acting there. And then I did a few things, leg work, and with CBS. I did A True Believer. I did a whole bunch of things, but I don't remember them like really fast, because it was such a long time ago. But I did a couple of American TV shows and movies. And then I went to California.
What was that experience? Because at that point, you had a child?
Yeah, I was a
So,
mom. I went to New York. The first thing I mean, to LA. First thing I booked there was the Ellen Show when it was a sitcom, Ellen and Her Friends. That was the first thing I booked. And it's different from New York. New York, it's all about talent and about seriousness. And I felt that I belonged in New York. And when I went to Los Angeles, I I I didn't feel that I belonged that much. Although I was booking some jobs, but not as many as I wanted.
You said you didn't feel like you belonged in LA. What was it that made you
I
feel?
found it I found it to be superficial. You know, it was really weird. It was kind of surreal because I remember this. I remember actors saying, "When I make it, I'm going to do this. When I make it, I'm going to do that." And I'm like, "What are you going to make? A pie? What is this thing you're making?" And that was quite weird because the focus in California was about being famous and being a star, and people talked about it like like I was saying, oh, I'm going to study at the university. Like it was, you know, I don't know.
What was the catalyst for you to start doing stand up?
Well, I was bored between auditions and auditions and jobs. And then I joined a class with Judy Carter because I thought I can be out on stage on my own. I can do that. So let me learn how to do that. And that's what I did. I did my first 5 minutes. I killed. And so a bug got into me. And you know what? Stand up gave me so much confidence that then I started going to the auditions and I was booking more work.
So now we come to Hot and Spicy Mamitas. Um, so you approached me about doing Hot and Spicy Mamitas. You said, I want to do an all Latin female show. And I was like, okay, let's
Yeah.
do it. I had just finished co producing Funny Ladies of Color, and I really wasn't interested in getting back into groups, but you were so adamant about, yeah, we have to do this. This is great. And so that was the birth of Hot and Spicy Mamitas. You know, your persistence of saying, no, we can do this. This will be great. And once we did it, once we actually got all the women, started booking spots at the different comedy venues, something started to happen. You want to talk about that?
Well, at first I had spoken to Ludovica, one of the girls, about doing it, but she wasn't a producer, neither was I. So you know, we didn't have that know how to produce. So it was like, and so I went to you. I said, Lydia, I spoke to Ludo, and I would like to do this. But I was the one that really wanted to do it because Ludo was working quite professional. You know, she was doing professional venues at the time, so she didn't need us. But
Right, she was doing Vegas. She was doing. She was
yeah,
going all over the country.
I went to you and I said, let's do it. Ignorance is bliss because I had nothing else to do but to be a mother to my son, and I had time to do that. And so I engaged with you in such a way, and then boom, something happened that we were not ready for. All of a sudden, we found out that there was a niche, there's a space for women like us. We had something to say, and people wanted to hear it.
Well, I think what was so special about the group, first of all, the chemistry with you, me, Ludo, Diana, Marilyn, and in the beginning we had Debbie Gutierrez, and then she left to go have her incredible career, and then Diana Ortelli came in,
Yeah.
which became the perfect blend because you had a Puerto Rican, you had a New Yorker, you had a Dominican, you had a Mexican from Mexico, you had a Mexican from New Mexico, and the combination of all these women and these personalities just worked. It just worked. Even though we weren't doing our stand-ups together, just the energy of the group worked. For me, the show was something that no one had ever seen before. You hadn't seen these fiery Latinas from different avenues of life come together and just bring their stuff. you know, and we packed every time we performed somewhere, we packed it out. And what impressed me the most, and then I'll throw it back to you, was that we always had men MCs. And whenever they seemed to go a little bit too long, the audience would kind of boo them off. Like, okay, that's enough. Bring the women.
Which is so ironic because for women doing stand-up comedy is a little harder than for men. I mean, socially they're permitted to say whatever they want. We are too, but not so much. It's harder for us. We all know that. So that was incredible. But we were so feisty, and we were so happy. We were really so happy, and I'm sure that came across.
And the audience was excited. You know, it wasn't like a regular comedy show. I mean, they were there for us. They weren't there just to see comedy. They came to support the Mamitas. So that was always, it was always wonderful to see how the club owners reacted to see the audience engaging with us. And I remember the first time we did the improv, and the guys from the kitchen ran out when you were on stage and lost their minds. It was like, Sully Diaz, it's Sully Diaz. Because they knew you from Coralitos.
Yeah, from the novela. Yeah. It was wonderful. And we even had a billboard on Sunset Boulevard. I mean, who would have known, huh, Lydia? When we started this, who would have known? It was we have our CD and everything.
We had merch. We had a lot of merchandise. Remember, we had the T-shirts where it was a drawing of us, a sketch of us that somebody, I believe from Homeboy Industries, drew of us. The T-shirt, and then we had the candles, the candles that we put the little prayers on with our picture, and we sold that for a while.
It was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful, and I found a place in Hollywood. Well, I had found it first when I stepped into the Laugh Factory Latino night. I said, "Oh my God, I belong." And then from that moment on, I felt there was some place in Los Angeles where I belonged. And then the rest came about.
When you first got to the Laugh Factory, which had Latino nights on Mondays, what was that for you?
I just went in and I said, wow. And it was mainly men, only a few women. And they let me do my 5 minutes that I had from my class in Judy Carter. And I felt accepted. And then when I started meeting all the comics, from different places, some from Mexico, some from Nicaragua. I met everyone. It was Carlos Mencia, Willie Barcena, Rudy Moreno, my fabulous, wonderful, adored Frankie C, which helped me develop my comedy later on. And I met you at the Comedy Store.
Yes.
At the Comedy Store.
And I have to tell you that at first, before I met you, people would come up to me and go, "You're Sully Diaz." I go, "No, I'm Lydia Nicole." But because our hair, we both had long hair. That was it. It was just because we both had long hair. Yeah, that was it. But that was it. And I used to go, "I don't know who Sully Diaz is. I don't know, I'm Lydia Nicole." And I just remember that was like, I must have gotten that for a month of people coming up to me thinking I was you. And I was like, I don't even know who Sully Diaz is. And then I met you at the Comedy Store.
Yeah. I know. It was wonderful too. I have a story about that. And at the moment, something had happened that I didn't have a job. It was not a right moment. One day at the Comedy Store, you wrote a check for $250 and you gave it to me. And I'm like, "What? What are you doing?" I'm like, "Take it." I took it. And then I gave it back to you. I don't know when you needed it, but it was such a beautiful gesture.
Well, the thing was, you were a single mom.
I still remember that.
You were a single mom. And so I had a heart for you because I was a single mom and I knew how difficult it was, to be doing your work and taking care of your kid, and that's a horrible feeling as a single mom, that you're struggling. I mean, there was so many times when Alexia was little where I didn't have money for milk or diapers. I didn't have enough gas money. I remember one time I said, fuck it, I'm going to go write a check to Ralph's. And I went and got diapers, I got food, I wrote a bad check, and I ended up having to go to bad check writing school, But I just, it's just, I just felt, I think you and I really bonded more because of the fact that we were the single moms. Even though Diana had a child, he was already grown. He was already, teenager at that point. But we had little ones.
Yeah, when I got there, my son was 1 year and a half. 1.5 years old. That's what he was. And then we hit that earthquake, that horrible earthquake at 92, was it?
91.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
91, was it?
Was
yeah,
91.
It was horrible. It was horrible. I remember trying to grab my son from his bed, and he was slipping from my hands 2 times because it was moving so hard. Oh, it was devastating. I wanted to go. I wanted to leave LA. And I saw everyone like so nonchalant about it, like, yeah, this happens here. I thought it was the end of the world. When I saw Santa Monica,
the freeway,
the expressway,
yes, and that collapsed,
broken. The bridge collapsed. Oh my God, I was very afraid.
Yeah, but you know what? You stuck it out, and that's what it is. It's about following through. It's about commitment, and that's what you have in spades. You are committed. You are dedicated. You show up. You persevere, and that, I think that was the wonderful thing about Hot and Spicy Mamitas, is that we didn't care. In the beginning, the guys were like making fun. It was like, oh yeah, right, yeah, that's cute. But when they saw the audiences that we were bringing, there was a shift for us. It was a shift. I just remember that shift happening. And then when we got the deal to do the CD, then all of a sudden they took us serious.
Yeah, they said, well, they're onto something, all right.
Yeah. And then at that point we started getting the respect. Because what we were doing was not, I mean, now you got all these groups, you got all these shows with women, but the magnitude of what we did back then, when, if one woman was on a bill, that was a lot.
That's right.
And Latino nights, if you had 3 women, oh my God, that was unspeakable. It's like, there's 3 Latina women? What? That usually was never the case. And so here we come, and we're like 5 of us, and we're taking over, and we took over. And what was great was we got to take over all the clubs. We got to, the Comedy Store was great that they let us do the main room. We got to do the main room at the Improv, and we got to do the Laugh Factory regularly, and we got to do our CD at the Ice House. I mean, we were kicking ass. We were kicking ass and getting a lot of press. Let's talk about the press.
Oh, the press. Yeah, we got press. And one thing that we never did that is it turns off people. When female, I live near the airport. I'm in Isla Verde, so that's why you hear the planes. Something we never talked about are hormones. That hormonal thing that women like to talk about and nobody wants to listen to. We never talked about that. And I think that was very important because that was a topic that people don't like.
Yeah, I think though we came in with balls. We weren't coming in with hormones. We came in with big giant balls. I Now that you say that, it would never have occurred to me to even talk about that on stage. I wanted to be with the boys. I wanted to have, I wanted to hold my own. It was hard enough being a girl. I didn't want to billboard that.
Right. No, it didn't even. It's that it didn't even occur to us because we were not into that, talking about that, and we weren't. And I think that's why men liked watching us too, because we never talked about that specific thing that nobody likes.
And we were,
which is real because we're a walking hormone, but
we also were. Now that I'm thinking about it, we were really about empowerment. Our show was really about empowerment. It was like we came in there and you were so deceptive because you came in so sexy and so provocative, and then you would like slam people in the most lovely way. It was it was just wonderful. And then Marilyn would come in with her filthy mouth and just start talking. Just start talking about phone sex. It was delicious. And then you had Ludovica doing Vegas, and you had Diana Ortelli talking about cholos and
kids. Si, senor. Oh, si, senor.
Yes.
You remember that joke?
Yes.
That we were always saying, Latinas, you were always saying in the movies, or si, senor, or si, senor.
And my favorite joke of yours was, "It's my pleasure giving you pleasure."
Wow.
So,
you know what? Remember that we did that in LA, but then when I came to Puerto Rico again to live, I said, I'm going to do this with some gals in Puerto Rico, and we're going to hit it big. It was called Sully's Comedy Divas, and I was the host. And I invited you.
Yes.
And we worked on your act, and we translated it to Spanish. We worked and worked on it. You worked on it so hard. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. When this woman got on stage, she killed in the most ferocious way, because your material in Spanish with your accent and your reality and your demeanor just became like 10 times stronger, and people were delighted with you, delighted.
Yeah, but that had to do with, first of all, your coaching, your helping me, because if you remember, I had gone there before with Ludo, and we had done the sex show in Puerto Rico with some other comics. It was Mike Robles.
We invited Bertilla Damas. We invited Bertilla because one of the girls couldn't make it.
Yeah, but then we went. After we did it in Miami, that's right. Bertilla did do it with us. Then when we went to then after we did it in Miami, he wanted us to come to Puerto Rico, and only me and Ludo, for whatever reason, it was just me and Ludo. So they brought two guys. The audience hated me. I mean, you talk about an audience just turning on you. They were not having me at all. So that when I went back to do it with you, I was on a mission. I was like, you know what? I am going to give the best I can. So I remember being at your house for almost a week and a half, just working. I had worked on the material before, but we worked on it and worked on it.
Writing and rewriting. Yeah.
And it was, yeah, but it also had to do because you gave me some of the inside of the island people.
Yes,
you know,
and
you
let me
gave
tell
me
you something about stand-up comedy in Spanish and in English. first of all, it's a genre that it came from the Jewish
From vaudeville.
Jewish people
Yeah,
and
from
the
vaudeville.
Catskills,
Uh-huh.
right? So it's and then North America adopted it, and it's we're not used to seeing women talking about such personal things. Okay, in Latin America, that is just like a no. I mean, when from the time you're growing up, if you're a boy, they're telling you have a whole bunch of girlfriends, have a whole bunch of girlfriends. But if you're a girl, they're telling you, don't give your,
Mm-hmm.
take care of your
Protect your goods. Yeah, protect those goods.
Yeah, so it's two different things. Now then, doing it on stage live for people is quite different from doing it on camera. Remember, the audience you had was, like what? The ladies that don't work, that are always watching novelas, they were never going to understand what you were doing. They must have said, "What's wrong with her?" Because they're not. It's not part of our culture to speak that way. Nevertheless, in Univision, I mean, Univision is like, let me shut up.
So what were one of your favorite moments in with Hot and Spicy Mamitas? Do you have a couple of favorite moments that you remember that stand out for you?
Wow, it's a long time ago. I had so many fabulous moments, Lydia. Really, it was just I couldn't believe it.
How about Fourth and B? How about Fourth and B in San Diego, where we went down with Frankie C, and we had over 1,000 people.
Oh,
Do you
that
remember
was
that?
amazing. That was amazing. I know. And nobody knew us, but there we are. There we were. There we were. Yeah, there were too many moments, and thanks to being a stand-up, to having had that training. When it came time for me to play a musical, which you saw, called La Lupe, My Life, My Destiny, which is based on a legendary Cuban singer, I was so good at it because I had the experience of speaking in setups and punchlines. So I took all that material from the play, and I worked it that way. Like, okay, let me see, setup, punchline. Oh, this is the setup, this is the punchline. If not, I would rearrange it, and the writer was okay with me. And
yes, and the writer for that show was Carmen Rivera, who's an extraordinary writer.
Carmen Rivera.
Extraordinary. Yes, and you were brilliant in that. I mean, you just kicked ass. You transformed in such a way with that part. You would come on stage, because I remember I was doing my show downtown, and I would come on the days I wasn't working to see you do your show, and you were phenomenal. I mean, you would just come on stage as La Lupe. It wasn't Sully Diaz. Sully Diaz was not in the building while you were performing.
I don't know. I studied day and night. I had to find underground tapes of her because YouTube didn't exist at the moment. And then I asked her fans, what did she do? How did she do it? And I was so possessed by her, and I was well studied. I mean, I studied her. I studied her psychology. I guess an actress needed to play that part more than a singer, because she was into Santeria. Then she became a born again Christian. She was bipolar as well. I studied what she felt, and then I imitated her voice as much as I could, and it came every night. That o sea, que ella hablaba como una voz así, un acento que una cosa bastante extraño. She would talk like that, an accent that was like very weird. I don't know, it was weird. It was weird, but it was her. And to think that she was a diamond in the rough and she spoke that English that so broken, it was so broken, but then she did Carnegie Hall. I mean, she was Tito Puente's singer for such a long, I mean, she was a real crossover and she was being herself. She didn't have to do anything. And that's what I loved about playing her. And also because I had the fantasy of what it was to be a great singer, having all the audience singing your songs. So I was like in the in the flesh of a
You
big
were
one.
you were
And was
you were manifesting it. You were manifesting it on a whole nother level. But
I was. It was a blessing. That was a blessing.
you were
And you know what?
so in
It
it.
opened the door. It opened the door for me to become a singer. I have been singing for the longest time now, which I had studied at the Free School of Music. I studied singing, but I forgot about that because I was acting. And I have been singing, wow, for like 20 years now. And I combined it with stand up comedy. It's like a one woman show.
That's awesome. Talking about La Lupe and her having bipolar,
Mm-hmm.
that that's something that you know about.
Yes. Yes, because I was, first time I felt there was something wrong with me was the onset was at 17 years old. As I was already working as an actress, I was in the University of Puerto Rico. I was very happy, yet I would cry myself to sleep every night. And I thought that was normal until a friend said, "You cry so much, shut up." And so I forgot about it. I said, "Well, I better stop crying." And then at 25, when I was going to get married, first time I married, I was I was like, I'm gonna get married. I'm not gonna get married. I'm gonna get married. I'm not gonna get married. I mean, one day I wanted it, one, and from an hour to another, I would change. I did get married, but uh, that's when I saw what I had. I went to the doctor. He said, "You have a condition, and we have to treat it with lithium. Lithium, it will make your your moods. It will balance your moods." And then I thought, yeah, but I'm an actress. Maybe I'm oversensitive, but this being oversensitive is good for my acting. What if I become so, chill that if I have to cry in a scene or if I have to have a strong scene, I can't do it. And he said, that is something to think about. And so I did not get medication at that time either. It wasn't until I turned 35 that I started to get medication. And thank God I did, because this is horrible. Because when you're in a manic period, you can do unexplicable things, things that in your right mind you would not do.
So, what is being manic? For,
Manic is when you feel manic, is like if you have, it's like you're having like 100,000 thoughts in your mind racing. It's like, but inside here. And you can't do anything about it. You're just going crazy. You can't sleep. One time I went almost 5 nights without sleeping. And then the depressive period, that's when you're depressed, you're crying, you don't want to do anything, you don't want to get out of the house, you don't want to open the door. Sometimes even, some people don't want to bathe, and it was horrible. So then I started getting treatment. And the thing is that it's a very selfish condition, because it's all about you, and you end up hurting yourself and hurting people around you if they're caught in one of your manic periods, which could last from months to weeks to days to hours. And then there's rapid cycling when you go from one thing to the other. So thank God that has been taken care of.
So you started getting medicated after you had Geo. after that was when you started to take medication at that
When
point?
I was messing up my life.
Yes.
And I was making wrong decisions. I said, I really have to take a look at this. And thank God I did. I'm a better person now than then. I strive to be a better person. And not only medication and therapy, but also my belief in Jesus, obviously, right there in the center.
So for actors out there who are watching this and listening and have bipolar episodes, or they are bipolar and they don't know it, what could you tell them to help them that they would want to go and get it checked out?
Because your life is going to be fuller. You're going to achieve successes. You're going to be able to do things you really want to do. You're going to, especially in relationships, partnerships, there, because, when you have a partner, it's like a mirror. Your partner is a mirror. So, you definitely have to take a look at it and work it out to get the right medication, to get the right help. That takes time. That takes within 8 months to 3 years to get the right dose for you, or whatever, the right treatment. It takes time. But you should really look into it. You shouldn't let it go, because it gets worse and worse and worse.
So let me ask you a question, because you said that you didn't want to take the medication because you didn't want it to affect your acting or your creativity. But once you started taking it, what happened to your creativity, your acting, your performance? How did it alter it?
Good question, because it did. And it was very highly embarrassing. I went through different medications, and once I was doing a movie, a very important movie, with a crew of 150 people around me, and I had to cry. And I had just started taking this medication, this new medication. I had been on it for like 7 days. Oh my God, Lydia, they said action, and I'm like, nothing. Not only that, I forgot my lines. I kept forgetting my lines. I kept getting more anxious about it. And so finally I said, Jesus, please don't leave me like this. And finally I did the scene, but it did affect my acting. So that's why I'm saying the road to recovery takes time, and you have to be diligent and really want it.
And so when you were doing La Lupe, you were on medication, or and so
I was having great. It was great.
So let's talk about that, because you had to hit so many highs and lows within the performance. You had to go to so many emotional places in that show. So how were you able to do it with that medication? You know what I mean? Like, had you figured out how to maneuver your technique and balance it with the medication?
My body was already used to that medication, so it was like, it was normal. The reaction to that was feeling normal. And with the Lupe, I mean, the character just gave me everything. I studied so hard. I couldn't sleep, but it wasn't because I was. It was because I was so preoccupied. Because when you are playing someone, a real person, it's a big responsibility, because you have to be exactly like them. And I did have great moments with that, because some people from the religion Santeria, they were like, oh my God, I don't want to touch her. Jamaja is going to come down. Oh my God. They would leave me flowers, yellow flowers, because she was the daughter of Ochung. And
One of the
it was
one of the
amazing,
gods
amazing.
from Santeria.
People thought I
Yes.
was possessed. People really thought I was possessed.
That's hilarious. But you also were so, what I loved about that play, going back to that play, because that really was a game changer for you,
Yes, it
was to see you give up any kind of ego you had, and of looking any kind of way, but I mean just fully committing to the character, and letting that character just be as outrageous as she wanted to be, and not stifling it to go, well, I always have to look pretty, I always have to look good. Like
Oh no.
You really emerged to me, you just emerged as such a great artist, because you were able to combine music and comedy and drama, and the emotion of it, it was the emotion that you brought to it, the connection that you had with her, the love you had for her, and it all just kind of, you left it all on the stage. You never gave less than 110%. So it was always wonderful to watch you. And what I loved was that it was sold out every friggin' night. Every night it was sold out.
You're telling me that, and I'm getting teary and all that, because I love her so much. That woman gave me a singing career, which I didn't have. You know? And if I can tell you that I've been working more as a singer than as an actress for the last 5 years. It's so weird. You know what? A lady in LA, tarot reader, Susanna Galan, she was British. She told me about it. In 1997, she told me, you're going to be a singer, you're going to have a big orchestra, you're going to do a play of a character. She's like a exotic bird, and she has her own island, and when you do that, you're going to come out and things are going to change for you. And I'm like, this lady's crazy. And it did happen, just the way she said it. And I remembered one day doing I forgot all about it, but I guess like 3 months into the play, I remembered. I said, oh my God, the lady told me this. So I guess some people can see.
But you then you're always looking to better yourself. You're always looking to learn new things. You're always on a spiritual quest, and always seeking more. So then you started you took cooking. You became a chef.
I graduated, yes, because my grandmother taught me how to cook when I was 12, because she was going to be in New York for 2 months, and I had to cook for the family, and I learned how to cook. But then somewhere along the line, I stopped cooking, because usually one doesn't cook for oneself, And I had my son, and you know how kids are. They don't like eating real food and all that. And then I said, I lost my hand. I lost my touch. I'm going to study again. And I studied, and I graduated, and I've worked in restaurants. I have had that adrenaline running of having a dish ready in less than 18 minutes. And I have had also the happiness of having someone say our compliments to the chef. So yes, I did that for a while. I always cook. I cook almost every day. I love cooking. My husband is always posting my plates on Facebook, and I'm like, don't do that. But he does it. Yeah.
So then, but that's not the end of the story. Then you decided to go back to school. So tell us about that.
I always wanted to finish my bachelor degree, always, but every time I enrolled, something came up, a movie or a series or a novella or something came up, and I had to not study. I couldn't study. So in 2012, I said, this is it. I'm going to finish my bachelor's. And it didn't matter. They offered me stuff, and I said no. I remember one semester I took 12 credits, which was hard. And but I finished in 2019. I graduated, and then when I went to pick up my certificate, and I'm saying this not because I want to brag or anything. It's just that life has surprises for you that if you don't dare to do things, you won't get them. But when I went to get my certification, they were smiling and waiting for me. Sully, why didn't you come? You graduated with honors. And I'm like, huh? I did what? Because I think that when you're an actor and in between acting jobs, your mind could get very lazy. You know, although I was always a reader, let me tell you, those years that I studied at the university were heaven to me because receiving all that knowledge, I felt like golden nuggets to me. I felt so wonderful to learn all these things. And then I made friends with all the professors and whatnot. I wrote essays. I studied. I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning to study because that's when I'm smart. Mm-hmm. After 4 o'clock, I become dum-dum. I can't do anything after 4 o'clock. You know, it has to be. So I did finish that, and it was so rewarding. I wish my mom could have seen me because she wanted me to finish it.
She saw you. She got to see you. Yeah, she got to see you. So now, was it before or after that you started teaching acting? Because then you started also teaching acting.
At the same time, and at the University of Puerto Rico, throughout a program called Continued Education. But because of my resume, because of all my experience, and my experience on camera, they offered me to be a professor at the university. So, wow, I couldn't believe it. And then I pride myself being a really good acting teacher, very loving, and I can spot talent. I can spot what people are good at. And I build in their security. I first look for where they're really good at, and I let them know. And then they feel secure and they dare to work in front of me. And I have students that are working in Hollywood, are working in Spain, and are doing such amazing things. And I feel so proud and I feel part of that. I feel like it's happening to me.
One of the things that I love about you, there's a lot of things I love about you, but one of the things that I love about you is your instinct. Your instinct is so good. I mean, you can feel stuff and go, yeah, that no, I don't know about that. That's not, or yes, that works, or whatever. And which I think is amazing because in spite of you having a bipolar condition, it doesn't affect your instinct. It doesn't, it's like you still can tap into and go, yeah, no, this is not right. As an acting teacher, how do you take that and use it as your special power?
I believe in what Meissner said about acting. Acting is living with truth, an imaginary situation. I believe that the imagination is the most powerful thing humans have to create things, obviously, because you have to create it in your head first. And an example for that is when you're jealous. You're in love with this man and you think he's having another woman and you're jealous, and that brain takes off. And you start inventing all sorts of scenarios which are not true, but they're not true, but you believe it. It's not the truth, but you believe it. You really believe it. The brain has that power. And then working through your imagination, I think it's not painful as working, sense memory. I don't believe in that. I believe in the circumstances, first of all, and listening. My special power with actors, that's what you asked, my special power. It's not a special power, it's just that I build based on their security. I find where they feel secure. I just tell them, stand up there and do something for me. Do you have anything? Have you done anything when you were a kid in school, whatever? And they do it, or or ask them to tell me about their lives, and then there I see where they what makes them, what they feel, what makes them tickle, what makes them hurt, what makes them feel wonderful. What, I'm just like a hawk. I'm observing, and I'm listening to every single word they're saying. And so I start with that. I give them a scene. And if it's a scene, it's a long scene, I cut it. I make them real short first, so I can see, so they don't feel that they have too much to work on, and they can concentrate on who am I, what am I doing, what do I want, how am I going to get it. All these questions that you ask yourself, and then boop, forget about them all and just be present, listen, and react. That's my superpower as a teacher, that I come from their strengths.
And what do you think your superpower is as an artist?
My superpower is my faith in Jesus. Everything I do, everything I have achieved is only because of him. Because after everything has been said and done, he's the only thing or person that makes me feel good.
What would you say to young women out there who are single moms, who are trying to have a career and take care of their children at the same time?
Well, I will have to quote Oprah Winfrey, because this quote from Oprah has been like a major rule in my life. One thing at a time. Take care of this. You took care of that. Now you take care of this. You took care of that. Now you take care of this. One thing at a time. Don't go crazy. And yes, you can do it. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. And it's hard work, but we've all done it. So many women have done it. So many women have done it with 4 children. I don't even know how they do that. But that to take one situation at a time.
How do you think being a mom has affected your life, as you look at stuff? It's like from being a single woman to then being married to then being a single mom, and remaining an artist, right? And now you have different lenses, so that having been a mother, you bring that to the table in everything you do.
Well, when you're a mother, the thing you love the most in your life is your son or your daughter, your children. That's what you love the most. It's like you're not selfish that way. You're less selfish. And they make you go through so many emotions raising them, that definitely you can use all those emotions for your acting, because they never stop. And they surprise you. So you're more profound when you're a mother.
What do you love about Hispanic Heritage Month?
I love being Hispanic, period. In a month, in a year, and I'm like, thank God I'm Latin. Thank you. I love it. I love it being bicultural. I love it because I can switch from one place to the other. I can be in the United States. I can be in Latin America. I can be in Europe. I can work in Europe. It's just fabulous. It's wonderful. Being Latin, but then again, I'm Latin. What am I supposed to say?
What would you say to young people out there about voting?
You got to vote. You gotta vote, you gotta vote, you gotta vote. If you don't vote, then you have to shut up and you have to receive whatever comes your way. Yeah, you gotta vote. Otherwise, things will be the same.
What do you think your legacy is?
Legacy.
Or what do you want your legacy to be?
Look at this, a big word, legacy. I don't know. I really, to be honest with you, I don't know. I don't care for having a legacy. I really don't. I'm in the here and now. I just want to be a better person every day. I feel so sorry sometimes when I think of things that I should have, could have, would have, all that stuff. I'm so happy that I feel that I achieve being a better person each day. Well, maybe I would love people to say that I was a loving woman.
And you are that. You bring that in spades. You also bring creativity. I think your superpower is being empathetic with others, and it's also encouragement, that you are really wonderful at encouraging people, in motivating them, and in supporting them. You are a great support system. I know that's true for me, that you have been a great support system, and you're also honest. What I was thinking about this morning as I was getting ready to talk to you, and I remember us when we were starting to do. We were in the beginning of Hot and Spicy Mamitas, and I was doing a lot of the administrative work, and we were trying to get a manager, but in the meantime, I was taking on that role of being the manager, the producer, and then trying to get on stage and do comedy, and not quite knowing how to take off that hat, and feeling like an imposter, on stage, because I couldn't give the same amount of time to working on my stand-up because I was doing the other work. And I remember just complaining to you about it, and you said, stop it. If there's a problem, just say it. Just tell them what they need to do. Just make them help you. That's all. Because you don't need to be getting resentful with people. And I just remember that shifted me. It shifted me in such a way that helped me to go, okay, what am I doing? And why am I doing this? I can't be, and I remember you making a comment about, stop being the martyr. And it just shook me out of my core. And it was like, yes. And that helped me start doing different work on myself. Like, one of the things that I did was, for a whole year, I had to say no to everything.
I remember.
I was like, nope, can't do it. Nope. Because I was so used to being the martyr, not even realizing it until you mentioned it. And I remember it like went right through my whole body. I was like, what? I don't want to be a martyr, and
Plus,
just,
I helped you. Plus, I said, give me some of that work.
That's right.
Well, we did most of the work.
That's right. That's right.
Most of the producing.
And Diana. Diana Ortelli.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Diana. Oh, yeah. Diana came in. Diana was a great help because she had a whole bunch. She had this market that we didn't have.
Yes.
Oh, Diana was wonderful. I remember. Yeah.
Yes. But I just.
She was wonderful.
Yeah. But I just remembered how you were able to cut through bullshit. That. And you were just. You didn't think about it. You didn't for me, I would think about it and go, well, maybe I shouldn't say anything. But you just would put it right out there. It was like, nope, don't do that. Don't do that. And it was like, oh, okay. All right. And it was just so helpful.
And they respected.
And
they respected you.
Yeah. But you were and you are just a great support system. That is who you are. You are, all your beauty, all your bravado. You are so kind at the core, and so loving, and so generous with everybody. You just give. So I think that is part of your legacy. I mean, from my from my bird's eye view, that is part of your legacy. I wanted to ask you, how do you replenish your artistic well?
Um, First of all, thank you for those words, Lydia. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Honey, I have so much energy that I can give it away and I still have some. So um, I don't even know what I do. I'm just, the show finished. It finished. Let me go home. Let's have maybe a drink or maybe hang out or a little bit, and that's it. Go to sleep early because you have a show tomorrow. Just be responsible with my body and my mind.
What helps your mindset?
Well, as I said before, I'm a Christian. That's my faith in there. But I do meditate. I do mindfulness. Um, Sometimes when I'm complaining, oh, I wish this was like this, and then I'm like, go serve. Every time someone asks me for something, and if I can, I serve. I serve. Since I don't have it in me to have, like, let's say, a bipolar foundation or something like that. I don't have it in me. But I do serve. I'm an advocate for mental health. I put it out there so everyone knew it and everyone saw that, hey, if she has it, I could have it too. And if she's okay, I might be okay too. I can be okay too. So am I getting away from
No, no,
the answer?
no, no. What actors have you been on set with that really taught you something that you still use today?
Well, yes. I did a movie in Spain. It's called La Mala in Spain. And I worked with this Cuban actress in a series in Netflix right now, a Spanish series from Spain called Vis a Vis. Vis a Vis. It's a, well, her name is Maria Diaz. And I saw her before starting the movie, before starting my part. I saw her acting. I just observed, and then I followed her all day. I wasn't supposed to work that day, but I said, I'm not leaving. I have to watch this girl. She was playing my sister, and we had sibling rivalry. So it was good. So I observed her and I observed her. And without her saying a word to me, she taught me how to act in front of a camera. I don't know how I can explain that, but I'm so grateful to her. I tell her that, and she didn't do anything. I was just watching her, but she made it so clear what had to be done that, I mean, we had scenes together that were amazing. I mean, I was into that movie, and I forgot my ego too because I wasn't looking too pretty in that movie either. I was supposed to be older, so they had to put some wrinkles, and I committed suicide, so she was like always down in the dumps. But yeah,
But what
I would have to
so
to her.
so is there one thing from what she taught you on how to act in front of the camera that you can articulate?
I took it in by instinct.
Okay.
I cannot put it in words, but I do think that acting for the camera is concentration, concentration, concentration. Because you know that when they say action, you have to have whatever feeling it is ready, there, smack, ready for your disposal. So I would say it's concentration. After all the studying that you have to do, the who, why, now, what I said before, and listening, after all of that has been done, you got to concentrate. And I have an example of a movie I did. I was doing this film, and my son died in my arms. He was a gang member. And I had to do that scene for 8 hours. You know, that they start with the long shot, medium shots, then close ups, then extreme close ups. And I remember every time they said cut, I sat in a chair and I just remained like that. Because let's say I went to have lunch and potato chips or drink some coffee and socialize. My state of mind was gone. And then I would have to work so much harder to get back into that place. Whereas if I stayed in that place for those 8 hours, there was no way that I was going to be out of concentration. And that's exactly the way it was. Every time they did it again and again and again and again, I was there. I remember people bringing me coffee to my chair. I'm like, but I was like this, like that, concentrated because it was such an emotional scene. I could not even imagine that. God bless my son, you know. So concentration.
What is one of your favorite self-help books?
The Seat of the Soul. The Seat of the Soul. I don't remember the author. But the first self-help book that I read was by Louise Hay, How to Heal Your
Oh,
Life.
Louise Hay. Yes.
Yeah, that was my first one. I was very, very, very young, and that was my first self-help book that I read, and I said, "Wow, I can help myself to understand what's inside of me," and I never stopped. Ever since, never stopped.
Now, did you ever read the Four Agreements?
Of course, of course. What's his name? Miguel.
Don Miguel Ruiz.
That's one of my favorite books, and I give that book out as a present a lot because it encompasses everything, I think.
Yes, I think that's a excellent book for artists.
Yeah,
You know,
it is.
it's
It
an
is. It is.
excellent
It
book
is.
for artists.
Especially don't take everything personal. You know, especially that part for everyone because we tend to take everything so personal. Personal, and me, I'm over emotional, so forget it. My sister said, "My God, you cry for everything," and I'm like, "Oh my God, what did I do? Oh my God."
One of the great things about that book, and Jackson Purdue turned me on to that book, and
He turned me on to the Seat of the Soul.
yeah, and
He was the one that Seat of the Soul. Yeah.
he's the master of self-help books. I mean, he reads everything. So, but I
Yeah.
remember him when I was in the middle of reading it. He says, and you know, the fifth agreement is to turn the critic off. You know that you got to turn that critic off, and it always stood with me. It's like, so when that voice comes, you know, to tell you you're an imposter or you can't do something or there's something wrong with you or you don't fit in or blah 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 blah, to just shut it down, to just say, oh no, 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 you're not paying rent here, you got to go, just kick it out. But I love that book. I found that book to be such a shift changer for me as an artist, to step into myself, to take ownership, and to not take anything, not to take things personal, and to understand that my best is always going to be different depending on how I feel. Because if you feel fantastic, then your best is going to be out there. But if you feel sick, your best may only be 50%, and you gotta cut yourself some slack about it.
Yes.
you
Yes.
know
Yes.
and how to make your word impeccable, that if you say you're going to do something, to follow through.
That's what I learned from that book. That my word is my word, and when I give my word, that is so important. But before it wasn't that important. You know how we lie, we don't care.
Well, or
And that book, that book taught me that, be your word and say the truth. Try to say the truth. If you don't want to go somewhere, you don't have to invent something. You just say, I can't go. I have other, commitment. You don't have to explain or anything like that, but to try to always tell the truth. That was a biggie for me.
when you're prepping for acting role, what is your ritual?
To be alone. I need to be alone. I can't be with people around me. I cannot be with people around me at all. I have to remain in my dressing room or in my camper or whatever. And I only relate to you when we're working. And I don't joke. because as I said before, the concentration, everything is in your head because none of it is really happening. It's all in your head. So I need to be alone. I am not. I don't socialize much when I'm working, unless I'm done for the day. Then I'll socialize.
Last question. What do you want people to know about Sully Diaz?
That I present myself exactly the way I am. What I am is what I am. What you see is what you get. I used to, when I was younger, I used to be heavy into manipulation. I don't do that. I just don't. And the one thing, yes, this one thing to know about me, I do not take anything for granted. Not one thing. A smile, anything that someone gives to me, I do not take it for granted. I accept it with such joy.
Excellent.